Welcome to Mahabharata, Echoes of Eternity. Today, we dive into the birth and upbringing of Duryodhana and his 19 brothers, the so-called Kauravas. This story reveals not only the beginning of the royal family, but also the early roots of tension and rivalry that would shape the destiny of the Kuru dynasty. Our story begins with King Dhritarashtra and Queen Gandhari of Hastinapura. Dhritarashtra, though blind, had always dreamed of being king. Yet, his blindness had kept him from ruling initially. And it was his young brother, Pandu, who had taken the throne. But when Pandu renounced his kingship and left Hastinapura, Dhritarashtra finally ascended as king, with his faithful queen Gandhari by his side. However, despite their wealth, power, and influence, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari longed for a heir who would carry on the Kuru lineage. Gandhari was deeply devoted and wished to fulfill her role as queen and mother of the next king. With time passing, the kingdom grew anxious for an heir and secure the future of Hastinapura. After some time, Gandhari became pregnant, and the kingdom rejoiced. But her pregnancy was unusually prolonged, lasting almost 2 years. As the months turned into years, Gandhari grew increasingly distressed, fearing something was amiss. Meanwhile, news reached her that Kunti, wife of Pandu, had given birth to 3 sons, Yudhishthira, Bhima, and Arjuna. This news only added to her worries and sense of urgency, for it meant that her sons would be younger than the Pandavas, potentially weakening their claim to the throne. Desperate, Gandhari struck her belly in frustration, and soon afterward she gave birth not to a child, but to a hard, lifeless mass. Heartbroken, she feared that her hopes of bearing an heir were lost. But the sage Vyasa, who had guided the family through many struggles, visited Gandhari and reassured her. He instructed her to divide the mass into 100 pieces and place them in pots filled with ghee. Following his guidance, Gandhari did so, and after careful preparation, each pot gave rise to a son. The firstborn among these sons were named Duryodhana. As soon as he was born, disturbing omens were filled in the air. Howling winds, the earth trembling, and animals acting in fear and distress. The wise elders and sages of the kingdom perceived these signs as ominous, warning that Duryodhana's birth might bring misfortune to the Kuru dynasty. Despite these warnings, Dhritarashtra, filled with love and pride for his firstborn, overlooked them, viewing Duryodhana as his beloved successor. Soon after, Duryodhana's 99 brothers were born, along with one sister, Dushala, who became the only female among the Kauravas. With 100 sons and 1 daughter, Gandhari's family was complete, and Dhritarashtra looked upon his children with great pride, believing that the Kuru dynasty would grow in strength and unity. As the children grew, Duryodhana emerged as a charismatic yet fiery leader among his siblings. He was fearless, ambitious, and loyal to his family. But he was also prone to jealousy and impulsive actions. Dhritarashtra, blinded by his love for his son, overlooked Duryodhana's faults and indulged him, allowing him to grow without restraint. Alongside Duryodhana, his brothers also received training in the arts of warfare, politics, and leadership. Under the guidance of the great teacher Dronacharya, Duryodhana learned the skills needed to wield power, becoming a formidable warrior skilled in mace fighting. Among all his brothers, Duryodhana showed exceptional powers, and he was determined to secure his place as the future king of Hastinapura. However, as Duryodhana and his brothers trained, so did the Pandavas, the sons of Pandu, who were raised alongside them in the palace. Yudhishthira, Bhima, and Arjuna, with their noble qualities, grew to be widely respected in Hastinapura. This comparison stirred resentment within Duryodhana, as he saw the Pandavas as obstacles to his claim of the throne. Duryodhana's jealousy towards the Pandavas deepened over time. He viewed Yudhishthira as his rival for the throne, while Bhima's immense strength posed a physical challenge, and Arjuna's skill in archery earned him admiration from the people and their teacher, Dronacharya. Duryodhana's resentment simmered, and he became obsessed with the idea of removing the Pandavas from his path. This animosity only grew as the Pandavas gained favor in the kingdom, and the people of Hastinapura began to view Yudhishthira as a righteous and wise leader. Duryodhana, despite his ambition and strength, could not command the same love and respect. His envy pushed him to seek counsel from his close friend Karna, who shared Duryodhana's fierce loyalty and disdain for the Pandavas. As Duryodhana matured, his ambitions and strategies grew more ruthless. He began to see the Pandavas not as cousins, but as rivals and threats to his aspirations of kingship. His cunning nature led him to plot various schemes to undermine them, viewing every interaction with the Pandavas as a battle for dominance and legitimacy. Despite Duryodhana's growing rivalry, the bonds between the Kauravas and the Pandavas were not entirely hostile in their early years. They shared childhood memories, training sessions, and the experience of royal life together. Many of the young Kauravas admired the Pandavas and looked upon them as role models. However, Duryodhana's influence on his brothers was strong, and his ambition gradually pulled the Kauravas into a position of opposition against the Pandavas. Duryodhana's closest ally among his siblings was his brother Dushasana, who supported him in every plan and stood by him with unwavering loyalty. Together, Duryodhana and Dushasana became the center figures among the Kauravas, leading their siblings under the guidance of their father, Dhritarashtra. Yet, even in the presence of family bonds, Duryodhana's desire for power remained unshaken. He believed that the throne of Hastinapura was his birthright, a belief reinforced by his father's favoritism. Dhritarashtra, blinded by love and pride, failed to correct his son, nurturing Duryodhana's ambition even as it turned towards darker paths. And so, the seeds of rivalry were sown between Duryodhana and the Pandavas, a rivalry that would grow into a conflict of epic proportions. Duryodhana's ambition, Dhritarashtra's blind affection, and the Gandhari's silent sorrow would intervene to create a web of loyalty, love, and bitterness within the royal family. In the next episode, we will explore the beginning of Duryodhana's schemes against the Pandavas and how his ambitions started to change the course of Hastinapura's destiny. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of Mahabharata.